Welcome to Irreplaceable by AI, where we spotlight work that technology can't replace. Today's guest is Tyler Weimer, a self-made entrepreneur and owner of F5 Exterior Cleaning, specializing in power washing, pressure washing, gutter cleaning, and window cleaning, with hands-on expertise serving Fauquier County, Prince William County, Warrenton County, and nearby areas in Virginia. Tyler proudly embraces his journey as a high school dropout with no college education, turning it into fuel for building a successful business from the ground up. Outside of business, Tyler is a passionate bass angler, often hitting the waters with his boat and fishing rod for some thrilling catches. His work has earned glowing community reviews for transforming homes and businesses in places like Warrenton, Manassas, Gainesville, Woodbridge, and Burke. Please welcome Tyler Weimer. So how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. The weather's beautiful. It's a Thursday and everything's going well.
Great to hear that. So let's now start with a deep dive into your trade. If we speak about Northern Virginia, what does the exterior cleaning market looks like there? What's the single most requested service you get now?
Believe it or not, I get a lot of window cleaning calls. That's kind of half of our business. Is built around just strictly window cleaning. It's something that I had started with years and years ago when I was younger. Back when I was 16, actually, I got into it, and our name is we've really made a name for ourselves out here for window cleaning, and we get a lot of business with that. So I'd say that's the most demanded service that we offer.
But it's not seasonal. It's kind of all year round, number one thing.
It can be. I mean, there are times where, things you can't go out and do certain things because of the weather. If it's, too cold, if water turns to ice, there's not much you can do. But window cleaning, there's a couple little tricks you can do to make sure you can clean windows in the wintertime, even when it's, below 30 degrees.
All right. Another part of your business is also related to power washing. So I'd like to ask you, we hear the terms power washing and pressure washing used all the time, but a major trend now is the soft washing. Can you explain the difference and tell us why soft washing is so critical for modern building materials like vinyl?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a common misconception, I think, that, pressure washing your house means, hooking up a pressure washer and just going at it with as much pressure as you can to get all the algae and everything, organic off the house. But that's kind of old school, and there's a better way to do things without, risking damaging the siding, because, if you hit things with a lot of pressure, especially vinyl and stuff, it just tears it up, and it'll disturb the oxidation on it. It'll, mess up the way the house is going to look and the longevity of the siding itself. So, back I think maybe mid 1900s, I believe, soft washing kind of became a huge thing, and a lot of guys started doing it, and it kind of just took off after that because you don't have to worry about the damage that it can cause, and it's all low pressure. It's all just with chemicals. So as long as you know what you're doing with the chemicals and you use the right stuff, um, and nothing beats it. It's truly the best thing to do, and it saves a lot of people a lot of time, a lot of headache. Keeps the guys off the ladders, and it really just it cleans the things up the way it should be. Versus when you just go to pressure wash something, you're just using water. When you're not using anything to actually kill any of the organic growth on anything. So that's where soft washing kind of comes in and helps. It takes care of all that for you. It kills everything and makes sure everything is dead. And it actually keeps it clean for a little bit longer than it would if you were just to pressure wash it, because there's not little areas where, there's still algae growing. You get everything. Everything dies. And, you don't have to worry about it coming back for a little bit longer than you would just using straight water.
When we speak about soft washing, does it also include uh, AI? I don't know if it's hype or if it's real. You tell me, please. That AI controlling and variating this kind of pressure, or is it related to only to, or it's not part of the soft washing?
Sorry, what was that?
I mean, there is a talk that there is kind of AI which is built into those pressure washer machines, which is kind of regulating this pressure. Um, is it real thing? Have you encountered? Have you been using this kind of things?
I haven't heard of anything AI as far as regulated pressure and things go. I honestly, there's not much AI out for our industry at all. It's mostly, just geared around our CRM and stuff. But as far as the actual labor that goes into pressure washing, there's not much out there that can really manage that. So there's a lot of guys that use drones, and there's some techie things out, but there's nothing that can really replace just hands on, getting down with it and doing it. There's a million different types of services. There's little things, as you're doing it that can come up. There's if you're, doing a deck, for example, and there's, maybe one board that's a little rotted, and you're using pressure on the rest of that deck. If you get to that rotted board and use that same pressure, you're taking a very high chance of just blowing that thing to pieces. So it's good to be able to, know when to back off. And I don't think that's ever going to be a thing for, a computer can figure out.
But what do you think about drones for roof inspection or robotic window cleaners? Is it real thing? Is it really helpful? Or it's still mostly hype.
As much as I've seen the drones get used. I've looked into them a bit. And as far as window cleaning goes, all the drones are doing really is just spraying water on the glass, and that's not going to get it clean. Just spray, the surface of glass needs agitation for it to actually clean. And that's anything that has dirt on it or has to washing your car, for example. You have to agitate the surface. You got to put a brush on it. You got to do something. Um, and you can't hook a drone, a brush to a drone and expect it to go up and be able to clean a window. All the drone window cleaning devices that are out, those just spray pure water. They don't actually scrub the glass. Same thing with pressure washing. They have drones that go up and they can spray, uh, which they're great. They're a great tool to have, of course, but they still have to be controlled by a human, and they still, they're not dialed in exactly to where you need them to be able to clean as good as a human eye could see.
All right. But continuing this discussion about the tech and how those services are provided, I wonder for window and gutter cleaning, how much has equipment like water-fed poles or advanced gutter vacuums changed the game in terms of safety and efficiency?
I'll be honest with you. I had a gutter vacuum for a little bit. And I was not happy with it. I noticed that there was a job that I've been doing for over 7 years, and I went back to do that job with the vacuum. And it's fancy. I spent thousands on it. It was an investment. But I ended up just that job normally would take about an hour and a half. I think we charged $250 for it. Um, that job ended up taking me 6 hours with a gutter vacuum and trying to look at a camera as I'm working, and it didn't perform well either. It was horrible. I could see it working if there's not much in the gutter, or if, there's just, like, light dry leaves. I could see it working, but to be honest with you, I really wasn't happy with it. I ended up selling it on Facebook Marketplace a few months ago. Just it was just a total piece of crap and waste of time. So it definitely not as efficient as just going up and doing it how we would normally do it with our hands. And the water fed pole did help. That does save a lot of time. That does keep us off the ground, off of ladders on the ground. And it has a brush on it, so it is agitating the surface and it is getting it perfectly clean.
This is really great to hear from you, and I think that will be valuable for listeners because you are the professional in this domain. You have tried this, you know all ins and outs, and so we can cut through what is hype and what is kind of real when it comes to technology. Uh, the next thing I'd like to ask is to move to regulations and liability. I heard that many homeowners don't realize it's illegal under the Clean Water Act to let chemical-filled water run into a storm drain. Can you walk us through the correct professional process your team follows to comply with the EPA and local Northern Virginia rules?
Well, to be honest with you, most of the work that we do isn't near a storm drain. Most of the work we do, we service Fauquier, and it's just a lot of farms and a lot of houses out, kind of in the middle of nowhere. But as far as that goes, when we do work in cities or in neighborhoods, um, most of the time it's just rinse, rinse, rinse. And as long as you're keeping as much water as possible on it, nothing really drains into the storm drain. And most of the time, if we're pressure washing something, that's gonna go in the storm drain. It's a sidewalk or concrete. So we don't use any chemicals on the concrete until after. And when we post treat it, it's just to keep it cleaner for a little bit longer, but it also, takes up all the algae that you couldn't get or all the organic growth that you couldn't get from just pressure washing it, which is something that a lot of people don't realize, even homeowners, they go pressure wash something and then and 6 months later they see the lines where they were pressure washing. It's because they didn't treat it. So there's special ways you can treat things without them running off. And honestly, most of the time we use a light treatment, a very not light, but thin, so that when it goes over the concrete or whatever hard surface that we're treating, it doesn't run off or anything. It just sits right where it's at. And it's all about having the right mixture too. But there is some cases, we have dealt with over the years where we've had to divert water. Maybe we'll put, gravel barricades on a driveway or something to get the water to divert somewhere else. Or even in some cases, some guys, they recover their water, or they put tarps up. And then I know out in California, their laws and their regulations are a bit different. So out there, they like to, I think from what I understand, um, there's certain areas where you have to reclaim your water and you can't let any chemical touch the ground and you have to tarp up everything. And I mean, the market out there is completely different from here. I would never want a business in California personally. I would never want to live there. Um, because of that, because there's so many restrictions on things, and it's a completely different world there. But um, that's how we handle storm drains.
Well, regarding California, it's so true, and I think it applies not just to your industry, but to so many other industries, including IT software. All right. In the Northern Virginia area, do you find it to be kind of a big challenge for you, the rising cost of insurance and fuel, or let's say it's more issue on the side of finding and retaining skilled, reliable technicians?
I think finding help has been the toughest thing for all of us in this industry, really. I think the workforce has definitely changed over the years, and I think people have gotten a little more comfortable with working less hard, and there's so many different opportunities out there these days that I mean, for lack of a better word, the world's gotten a bit lazy. Um, as far as work ethic goes, and that's something we've definitely faced challenges. But there's been a few guys that we've had that they have a solid work ethic, and they really like to get things done. But it is tough to find good help. It is very, very tough. And the thing about it is once you find that good help, you got to pay them good, and you better take care of them because you want to keep them around as long as possible.
I don't know if it's a silly question, but for your business, have you ever considered bringing people from abroad to work for you?
What do you mean by people from abroad?
Well, to be as technicians, for instance, or yeah, working as a technicians. I mean, if you face, let's say, the challenge of finding on the in the Northern Virginia itself, have you considered maybe not just abroad, but from other locations, helping them to relocate and come and work for you? Was it so acute that you wanted or considered this kind of option?
Something I've learned over the years is that it's really tough, especially if somebody lives from a bit farther away. It's tough for them to make it in and out, especially in Northern Virginia. Virginia, we deal with a lot of traffic on 66 and 29, and it gets a little stuffy. So if somebody lives pretty far away, they're gonna have to make that 2 hour commute in the morning, and it's just too much. It's too much for them. They end up not having time in their day, and they're unhappy. And um there's a lot of situations where, if somebody's living far away and they try to come here, then we're late in the morning, we're late leaving, and time is everything in this industry. Being on time and honoring your word is everything. So if, you're held back by your employee that lives 2 hours away, then there's not much you can do. You have to kind of find people that are close by, or at least somebody that's willing to show up early and make the commute. And my current employee, he lives in Hagerstown, Maryland, and that's an hour and 40 minutes, for him, and every morning. But he makes the commute. He's here every morning, 20, 30 minutes early. But it is tough. It is tough.
Yeah, I can imagine. It's just I also heard when I was recently in Pittsburgh from one painting service owner um, about the challenge of bringing workers due to some quota regulations. But I don't know, maybe they were operating on a bigger scale, and for them it was more relevant. All right. Can you tell me, as a business owner, what marketing actually works for you to get new customers? Is it those videos on social media, or Google's local service ads, or old-fashioned word of mouth referrals?
I always find this question kind of interesting because the thing about marketing is you don't really stop at one thing. There's not one golden ticket that's going to get you the most clients. Sure, it's, always wise to pay attention to what's effective, but a little bit of everything is what works. So our Facebook, sure, we have tons of videos on exactly what it is that we're doing. We're showing how we do it. And that's good, for the consumer end, because they can see everything. They can see exactly what their house would look like. They can see exactly how our process goes. Um, so that's good. That's kind of more of a branding thing though. So that's more awareness. Our website has produced, as far as leads and getting new clients goes, our website has definitely been the top for many, many years. We have it so that you can go on our website, you can book online, you can pick a date that you want that works for you. And you can schedule your service online. We have some of our prices listed online for when you go to schedule. Um, there's an estimate request form on our site that brings in a lot of leads. And good SEO helps a lot, a ton. I have dabbled in Google advertising some, and that's generated some leads, but that's really expensive. Even Facebook can get really expensive just to get established and get it going and get it to be effective and to get your audience dialed in. It does cost money and it does take time. Um, but word of mouth has always been huge for us. I think, networking too helps. I've joined a BNI group. I've been in BNI group, a BNI group in the past. Getting out and networking and socializing with some of these people, that you're going to be doing business with. It's good to make, face to face connections and get to know them, because I mean, these people are giving me business at the end of the day. I need to go out and I need to, make an impression on these people, and make friends with some of them. And honestly, they've been great contacts for me too, in my business, because I can use them as a resource just as much as they use me. Um, but word of mouth is definitely huge. You do a good job for someone, and they're gonna tell their friends, and people are gonna, especially with what we do, it's kind of an instant change. And if you go to, your mom's house, and it's filthy, the windows are disgusting, you can't barely see out of anything. The siding is all caked up with crap. You get used to seeing that for a long period of time, and then while you go there again, everything's clean and shiny. You can see everything's beautiful, crystal clear windows. It does make a huge difference, and it's definitely noticeable. So people, they say, "Who did your windows? Who did your house? This looks great," and then they'll give me a call.
Now let's move back to how it all started. Take me to the beginning, to the moment when you made decision that you want to open up your business, that you want to start uh, your career in exterior cleaning. How has it all started?
Well, honestly, it started back when I was 16. I've always had this mindset of well, I don't want to be, I don't want to go to work and be like everybody else. I needed to learn some kind of skill. And I was very, very blessed to meet David Bales. He was the owner of Crystal Clear Window Cleaning out of Warrenton. And I started cleaning windows with him back in right after I had left school. I decided school wasn't for me. I left in 10th grade. Just wasn't my thing. I had been doing construction as a gig, making plenty of money. I was on my own at that point, and I started cleaning windows with a friend, and I really liked it. I wasn't making as much as this construction, but I didn't have to deal with the headache of construction. That's a whole nother beast. And I really like the simplicity of it. You show up somewhere, you're there for maybe a day or two, and then that's it. Um, so I between 16 and 20, whenever I started my business, um, I mean, I just kind of mastered my skills, learned everything there is to know about the trade. Moved to North Carolina and worked for a company there for a TLC window cleaning. I worked there for maybe 9 months, and then I moved back to Virginia after I had a bit of a falling out there, and it wasn't a good fit for me. But um, I decided, I observed all the things that other companies were doing over the years and learning their mistakes, um, and learning how I can be a better company. So I wanted to start my own business, and that's exactly what I did. I came back and I had a business partner. We launched. I moved back to Virginia. Was here for about a week. Came up with the idea overnight, and we just launched and hustled and hustled and hustled. And about 6 months later, that business partner, we went our separate ways. Um, and right as we went our separate ways, actually, the business really took off and became what it is now. And I'll tell you, I wouldn't trade it for the world. Absolutely love what I do. Um, and in fact, in 2023, January 1st, 2023, I became full owner of Crystal Clear Window Cleaning, which is the first company I started working for. And I took over all the clients, all the jobs and everything. And
Have
that's been a
you
blessing too.
have you acquired the company? That's what I was saying.
Yeah, absolutely. 100% I started it was about a year into business whenever I sat down with David and we discussed things. And so that was back in 2019. I started taking over in December of 2019, and then finally July 1st, 2023. I was full owner at that point, and that's how that went. And that's how that went.
That's really beautiful story. So you really proved yourself. You bought out the company where you started actually your career, and basically outperformed, so to say, your teachers.
A little bit, and then that's kind of, that's I've always had kind of a chip on my shoulder, maybe some from childhood and just from over the years. A lot of people say a lot of things to you, and I've had a lot of people come up and tell me, "Hey, you're never gonna make it doing this," and I even when I started my business, I've heard so many things. Um, you're gonna fail. This isn't smart. I've had lawyers tell me this isn't smart. This is, you're not gonna do well. Um, and honestly, at that time, it didn't look like I was gonna do well. I started my company with I had a 2007 red Toyota Camry, and I was towing behind I bought a trailer hitch for it online, and I towed a trailer that had a little pressure washer on it, and I was strapping ladders on it. I mean, I looked crazy driving around. And I just got a lot of hate for it. A lot of people didn't like it. I don't understand why. If anybody wants to go out and do their own thing, and you got to start somewhere. And I have a lot of respect for people that do that and take that big step into doing something. So I've always had, and even being a dropout, my parents don't like that I'm a dropout. Um, I could care less about what my mother thinks, but there's a lot of people that hate on that too. Leaving school. It's like there's been this thing in this world where it's been pounded into us, even going through high school. You have to go to college or you're not going to be successful. I even had a counselor tell me, sit down and tell me when I first left school, or was leaving school. She sat down and said, you're not going to make it out there in this world without a college education. And that was just to me more fuel to kick butt. It just gave me so much more fuel to the fire. It really put everything together for me. And you know what? I'm making more than those teachers do. I'm making more than that counselor does. I'm making more than both of my parents combined. And I'm not trying to be cocky or anything, but it's a point to prove. And I love proving it every time. And a lot of the times, the people that did talk trash or say, have a lot to say, a lot of negative things to say about me. When they see me now, it's a different conversation. Now it's, hey, I'm proud of you. And yeah, well, I don't forget that you talk trash, that's what I respond. I don't not respond, but that's what I think. I just say thank you, but, it's it feels good to it feels good to beat the odds, I suppose.
But I think your story is really inspiring. And what is amazing is that a lot of people tried to pull you down, but you still kept going. And also at such a young age, basically without much experience, or we can say that was your first experience. I wonder, where did you find the source? Well, you said that you wanted to prove otherwise. So that's one thing. But besides that, where did you find this source and confidence to keep pushing, to keep moving forward, despite of all the odds?
Well, when I started my company, I mean, I went hard with it. I spent all my time just working. Every waking second, I was doing something for work. I was going out and putting myself in those uncomfortable situations. I would show up to realtor parties that I wasn't even invited to just to make connections, and ended up hanging out and making really good connections and good friends. Um, and that's how I started. I really I it was I was there was many nights where I was working till 3, 4 o'clock in the morning and then waking up at 7 o'clock to get to the job, or going out and door knocking. And after creating that for a bit, that becomes like it's like a child. It's like your baby. And it's not and you think about all the hard work that you put into it and all the things that you've done to, just make it work so far, this long, and you just don't give up on it. There's it's never been an option in my head of, hey, let me throw my hands up and just give up. That's never been an option. I've faced a lot of different obstacles, between having, parting ways with my business partner at the time. Um, the contract with the window cleaning company, that was its own thing, and just all these obstacles and hoops to jump through. And I doing it blind too, it's not like there's a guide on exactly how your business is gonna go and anything. Everybody has their own obstacles and own battles to face, but when you love what you do and you're really just driven, especially with people saying negative things to you, and that really just makes you want to do better, I think, at a certain point, and it just pisses you off enough to say, "Hey, you know what? I'm gonna be the best company, and I'm not gonna fail, and I'm gonna keep going forward." And that's how it's been for over 7 years now.
That's really amazing. And obviously, not everyone can handle this. I mean, I would say a lot of people would give up under such pressure. And I'm really happy to hear this. And you said when you parted with your partner, so then it kind of took off and started growing, and there was this kind of like success moment. Can you share how did you feel at this point? What was this period of time? How did it look like to you?
Um, so I have to word this a certain way, I suppose. I think when I had a business partner, I think that did take a little bit of the drive out of it because it's just a weird feeling, you know, you're working your butt off and you know the industry, you know everything, and you have a business partner, and it's like that's what you have to take care. You have to take care of somebody else. It's somebody else that's got their hands in the pot. Somebody else that's, you know, if you want to make a decision, you have to run it by somebody else, and that's just no fun. And I didn't really. I will say I think parting ways with that business partner was probably the best decision I made for my company and for myself, really. Um, because then you know, you treat things different. Your perspective changes, and all of a sudden, you know, it's yours, and you can build your own empire. You're not building yours and somebody else's empire. And you know, there's just too much conflict with having a business partner, and too many things you got to make sure it's okay. It's just not worth it. And I don't advise anybody get a business partner in this industry, at least. Um, just simply because 99% of the times it does not work out. But as soon as I parted ways with that person, I mean, I just I turned into a monster. Again, it was more fuel for me because, you know, that person it was kind of an ugly falling out, but um I mean, it really just it turned things around, and all of a sudden it's just things fell into place just right at the same time. You know, I left that partnership and at the same time was building a brand, and I was building a reputation and a BNI and networking group. And because of that networking group, I was able to generate, in 4 months, we generated 70,000 in revenue. And before that, I think in the year we had only like 20,000 maybe, or 10,000 or 12,000. I can't remember. I'd have to go back in the books, but it wasn't much. We didn't really do much. Most of my work at that time was going out door knocking and, you know, just trial and error things. You know, trying to figure out what could I spend my time doing that's going to, you know, produce the most amount of jobs or income. And door knocking, you know, was the most effective out of all of the things that I was trying to, you know, Facebook and all this other stuff. Door knocking was definitely the best. Um, but at that time, I had built a brand and these networking groups, and you know, the word gets out. You get to know a lot of people. And one there was one specific person that really helped launch things, and his name is TJ. And TJ sent us a ton of work. I mean, he was very well connected with many people. And just getting the foot in the door with somebody that knows a lot of people can really make a difference on in your business. And in this industry, just knowing one solid contact to just get things off the ground, just to be able to have some income, to do things with, to advertise, to reinvest. You know, that winter is actually when we got our first truck. I was working out of my car until that. Um, but you know, we got our first truck. Um, got another truck. Now we have another truck, and you know, things really lifted off just from knowing people and getting your foot in the door with the right people and doing a damn good job. And making sure you take care of the people that you know are sending you work and taking care of you.
That's that's a very good point, and I fully agree. How have you thanked this guy TJ, or have you actually? I'm just asking, curious.
Oh, many times. I haven't spoken to him. It's a little while, but you know, he still definitely holds a place in my heart. I guess you could say. You know, I'll never forget launching the company and everybody that. And it's not just him. There was, you know, it's a number of people um, that really helped me and supported me, and I'll never ever forget them. And I have definitely showed them gratitude over the years, however I can.
I see. Now moving to today, you have overcome so many different challenges. But if we speak about the today, and it doesn't mean it's not successful or something like that, but obviously we always have some kind of like challenge. What number one biggest challenge for you currently when you're running your business, where you're kind of looking for solution or way to solve or improve?
Currently, we actually we're in between. We're at the stage, and a lot of guys have experienced this. We're at the stage where it's time for me to kind of step away from the field, but I'm in between, the field and going out and networking and doing all the white collar part of the business, the sales, the computer part of it, the legal part of it, all of it. And even just reorganizing things and getting things structured, that all that stuff takes time. And I have to be sitting on a computer or sitting in front of a group of people or going out having lunch with people. And that stuff, that takes time. So we're in the in between stage where I have to step out of the field, but I also have to find, the right kind of technicians to take my spot because we're very, very particular about what we do and the kind of jobs that we do and the kind of, service that we perform. And I'm very particular about who I hire and who I want to go out and manage those things, especially without me. So I'd say, delegating time and, I have 3 phones I answer to. I have my personal phone, I have, you know, my F5 exterior cleaning phone, I have my crystal clear window cleaning phone. I also have my Gutter Max phone, which is, just for gutter cleaning and gutter guards. That's another little business. I haven't really done anything with it too much. I've, landed some jobs with it, but, um, that's a lot of my time. Managing, 3, 4 phones throughout the day it takes a lot. Um, so now that we're growing, I think the next step for us is to find somebody that can, help manage these things with me, as well as finding the right technicians to manage things in the field.
But hearing you, I kept wondering, this is actually really interesting. You have built successful business. So where do you see yourself mostly? Going out to the field? Let's say you find people handling operational and administrative stuff, but then is your soul calling you to go to the field, or is just that you want to distribute things so you could focus on some strategic development? Where do you see yourself? Do you still want to have to get your hands dirty, or be on kind of high level?
I would say, I really love going out in the field. I really love what I do for work, even as crazy as it is, just going up on ladders and all the heights, the risky things, the fun parts, the hard work, getting your hands dirty, getting the jobs done. I do love that. And beyond that, I love talking with my client. I have a great uh I love all of my customers. They've all been great to me. I've met some really cool people. And there's a lot of places that I'll never not go to. There's certain jobs that I'm gonna do and until, they move and I'll never I'll never discredit the fields work. There's I love it. But I do think that as far as my future goes and the company's future, just because of who we are and where we're trying to go with things, I think there's going to be a point in time where I'm going to have to step away from the field entirely. Um, and go more to, the managing part and making sure, the company can stay going. Um, or sorry, growing, not going, of course that, but, as long as the company can stay growing, I, I'm going to stay, I'm gonna have to step away from the field to be able to manage the growth. And that's kind of, yeah, that's that.
Do you mind sharing how do you see like in 5 years? Where will you be standing, you and your company?
I think in 5 years, I think we'll probably have a new fleet of trucks. I think we'll have a new office space, where we have garages to park things and places to work on things. Um, and I think that we're really starting to expand our commercial side of things, and that might include some travel too. Back to what you said about finding people from other areas to come and work. I think that'll come into effect then as well. Because some of the contracts for our industry that you would sign on to, you have to travel maybe 3, 4 states to be able to clean everything that they have. It might be a Home Depot, for example. They might have you do all the Home Depots on the East Coast or what have you. And And so I think at that point, um, that's kind of where I want things to go. Because I want something for my family to have as well. Um, I don't want to stay, small. I'm comfortable where I'm at, of course, but um, I've always had a drive in me. I don't want to stop. There's going to be no stopping. We're going to keep growing and growing, um, as long as we can.
And I hope you will succeed as you have done already. Um, but let's go back to the previous thing that you have mentioned. I just want to deep dive and clarify. When you said it takes a lot of time for you to juggle a lot of those administrative operational things, if you be more specific, what is like number one or top three things that are taking your time and that you would like to delegate or automate?
Well, we've already kind of started to delegate some time with the book online option on our website, so that people can just schedule online. They don't even have to reach out to us. They can just, because I think that's kind of where the world is headed. Especially given, and the reason we did that is because if you notice, every time you walk into a McDonald's or a lot of places have a lot of places have like self checkout, or um it's not, you're not getting interaction with a person so much anymore. So people are kind of getting more, especially the younger generation as they get older. I think that they're getting more used to dealing with a computer and just doing everything themselves. So that's kind of where our website is going to come into play. Because eventually it's going to be entirely online, where you can just any service online you want. You can go online, you can book it, which you can do that now. Um, and I think that that's going to really gear all our clients into our website. Um, so I think that will save us the most amount of time, because being on our phone and just, there's a lot of back and forth. For example, from start to finish, if a client would call us, um, if we can't get to the phone, or something like that, they have the voicemail and we have to call them back, and then sometimes things get a little sticky with that, but texting and calling, and then you have to go back and forth, and you have to go out, give an estimate. Um, and then after the estimate, you schedule them. It's a lot of work that goes into, just getting somebody on the schedule after they call, and getting the job done. So there's certain things that we've done. We have a good CRM. We use House Call Pro. We have a really good CRM, for scheduling and for our clients. They get notified as soon as the job's scheduled, or, what have you, or that they get their estimates sent through it, and they can approve or deny it. They can, um, they have that estimate on for as long as they want. It gets sent to their email, to their phone. They get a text a couple days before we show up. They get a text when we're on the way. They get a text when we're finished, and they get their invoice through text also when we're finished. So everything's kind of automated. Um, and that does help save a ton of time and a ton of trouble. The old school way of writing in a calendar, and doing everything on paper or by hand with pen and paper. I think that's behind us now, and I think with the way technology is going, especially, I think scheduling online, or the ease of things is what the future is, whatever that may be. Um,
You just mentioned about this CRM that you're using, but I wonder if you are getting clients from different kind of like sources or platforms which generating those leads. I don't know if you're using this Android list, something like that. You probably still have to manually put this into your CRM system to make it work, right?
correct, absolutely. And I think I think here's $1 million business idea for someone. I think that if there was a platform that could manage every other platform, um, that's $1 million ticket right there. That's a software that's worth, you know, whatever you want to charge. Because if I could make it to where I could post on Facebook, and at the same time I post on Facebook, it's posting to, Nextdoor, it's posting to all these other sites and building all these backlinks online, and even my website. There are some things out there that have started to do that, but It's different. If somebody messaged me on Facebook, I have to open up Messenger on my phone to get to that message. And if I have them in my software and I'm looking at their stuff, I'm on the phone with them and I'm trying to find, maybe some things that we discussed through Facebook Messenger. I might not see it because I'm going to look at our previous text, especially if it's 1, 2 years down the line. I'm going to look at our text and see in the past where we have talked about things or maybe little notes that needed to have been made. I'm not going to open up Facebook Messenger simply because most of our clients text. And so if there was a platform where I could go on and see all of my messages from Facebook Messenger, all of my text messages, all of my, everything all on one platform, even just one phone, I think that would save me and anybody in our industry a ton of time and trouble. Because yes, you do have to manually go in the system and enter everything in. There's some coding I can do with it, but it's not something I want to really put on my website. Most CRMs are very particular about how they do things, and that you have to use their system to be able to have the schedule online option, for example. That's done through our site. That's all coded. That's completely separate from the software. So something that would even pull things from the software to put on my CRM where I can say this person needs an estimate and I got it right away. That that would save a lot of time itself.
Thank you for sharing your vision of how these things could have been done better in your domain, in your industry. Um, this is not the topic of this podcast, but just briefly, what you have just mentioned, this is something that I'm building with my company. This is the startup that I have. Maybe separately, I can tell you more about how this looks like and what we're trying to achieve. But right now, I'd like to move to the final stage of this podcast, which is rapid fire questions. So basically, whatever is on top of your mind, you just shoot it without like overthinking. Are you ready?
Sure.
Great.
Sure.
So, first question. What is one business book, podcast, or online course that has had the most significant impact on how you run your business?
Tube. I have no other way to put that. I didn't really do any online course or anything. I just kind of winged it. But I mean, I watched some guys on YouTube in my industry and kind of saw what they did and followed it. And online forums too, like Facebook. I've read a lot of things online. And also the book Rich Dad Poor Dad. That was a damn good book. I recommend everybody read that.
Great. Now to the second question. If you could recommend one piece of software, app, or physical tool that you simply can't run your business without today, what would it be and why?
I would say House Call Pro. I've had House Call Pro since I started my company, and honestly, it's a great software. And they're always doing upgrades and improvements to it. And they're tweaking things constantly, especially for other industries that are maybe related to mine. That there's options where you can put in different costs for different things, and you can look at the charts, and I mean, it really helps you run your business. And the customer service is great. So I definitely would say House Call Pro for sure.
All right. And now to the next question. Thinking about all the lessons you've learned, what's the single most valuable piece of advice you would give to someone just starting out in exterior cleaning business?
Um, I would always say just to well, of course, I would say to never give up, but I would say to make sure that's a tough one. But a piece of advice, I would say to think twice before making a decision, and always it was intimidating at first going out and meeting people and doing this whole thing, but confidence is huge. I think if you have the right amount of confidence when you're doing this and you're confident in what you do and you know your value, you know what kind of job your prices are going to reflect that too. It's easy to, for a lot of startups to go out and charge pennies to do, something we're going to charge premium price for. Well, why aren't they charging premium price? They're doing the same job we are, you know? Even my competitors, I don't know why they don't charge more if because I've seen, I mean, some of my competitors do phenomenal work, but they're not charging what they're valued at. So, confidence in your work and confidence in what you do and confidence in yourself when you're going out and talking to people. This is your industry and you own it. This is your business. This is you. Um, and you should be confident in it no matter what. And not, even if somebody says things to you, always think not everybody's got their shit together. Or sorry, is my language. Not everybody's got it together. Not everybody's gonna know um everything. And some people can say things to you, and it's just all about confidence at the end of the day. So I guess be confident would be the best piece of advice I could give.
And finally, where can our listeners find you and learn more about your work?
You can find me. You can follow us on Facebook at F5 Exterior Cleaning. You can go to our website at www.f5exteriorcleaning.com. Or you could call us at 540-660-5698.
Thank you. Today, our guest was Tyler Weimer in the episode of Irreplaceable by AI. Thank you for listening.